Hi, hello, and welcome back to another video. The Fool and the Chancellor, the Initiate and the Chancellor. Interesting. So Venus just moved into Aries. First, my brain said Pisces, and then it went Aquarius, and I'm like, wrong way, Aries. And I cannot stop yawning. Excuse me. And so we're going to do that thing that I do sometimes when we have a excuse me, when we have a planet that goes from one sign to another sign. I feel like I've just got a um, like a tickle right there at the base of my throat randomly. So yes, big yard, big yard. Excuse me. So I'm going to use the SKT Revelations and Vitruvian editions. The Revelations edition will be Venus before Aries. the Vitruvian edition will be Venus before Aries. The Revelations edition will be Venus in Aries and beyond. Ooh, 6 of Wands, which is Jupiter in Aries. And let's get right into it. I don't know if there's anything that necessarily bears mentioning. 4 of... Oh, wait. Hold up. You see that? The 6 of Wands at the cut. The 6 of Wands is at the bottom of the deck over here. Wow. Look at that. You were winning before you're still winning. Always on top, don't stop. All right. So 3 cards. How am I going to do this? Because I don't necessarily want a bunch of cards. There's like a whole bunch of stuff in Aries. I was looking, my journey buddy was like, oh, Venus like transited into Aries today. I was like, what? We got Venus, Hygeia, the North Node, the Sun, Icarus, Chiron, Eris, and Mercury. Leo has the part of fortune right now. Sagittarius has Pallas retrograde, Lilith retrograde, and the IC at this moment. Now, I don't think there's any like super tight trines. Well, I guess the North Node is trining the part of fortune, but it's pretty far from Lilith. I mean, it's 5 degrees, so it's like, and Lilith is retrograde. So because Lilith is retrograde, and that's like direct. No, the North Node is also retrograde. So they're both moving backwards. Excuse me, and I'm not sure which is faster. So I don't know if that trine is getting weaker or looser. But I guess at some point Lilith would go direct, and then it would get stronger. So anyway, are my eyes pink? I don't know. I feel like I came in here. It could be my allergies because this is a window that like faces outside. I feel like my eyes are starting to get puffy and water. I had like a little scratch in my throat. I'm like, what's going on? But I was fine before I clicked go live. Venus is bringing the allergies. It's just my allergies. All right, let's do this. Venus and Pisces, the erudite. Archangel of Glory at the bottom of the deck. The Archangel of what? We saw this card. Was that for, I think that was when I read Mars going into Pisces, right? Where I am, you also may be. Wasn't that Mars going into Pisces roughly when it was like Column World? Hermit of the Mysteries, but the bottom of the deck is the Archangel of Glory. And because there's a cloak, and because of the music, so this is like Gabriel with the trumpet, right? See the trumpet? There's like sheet music on the other side of that. So I'm like, is that Hermit, the Archangel of Glory, in like hiding? Or like trying to disguise itself? What? Luke's hominum vitae or vitae? I don't think I've ever seen this writing on the end of the staff before. I don't think I've ever noticed that. I'm like, wait, what? What is that? The light of the life of man or something? O. The light of man. I feel like there's a little bit of, I mean, I do have, I don't know if she put it in here. Let's go. Let's look. I'm curious. Let's see. I am intrigued. This is something that I have never noticed before. I already have the book of maps pulled up. Excuse me. Ooh, yeah. This is number 8. No, this is number 9. This is not number 8. The right eye of providence opens within the alchemical symbol for earth. Oh. Lucio non uro, shine, not burn. Oh, that's interesting. I know Luke's ex tenebris is light from darkness, but I don't know if I've ever necessarily. I look at Lucio non uro all the time. I don't know if I've ever necessarily had the thought to look into the translation of it. So shine, not burn. The erudites, Luke's hominum vitae, light the life of man. I knew it was of man. I could remember that. That's why I did the umo. Nominative, genitive, ablative, dative, whatever. I don't remember. It's been a minute since I was in Latin class. Behind the eye is an open book, upon which the words are printed, "Where I am, you also may be." On its adjacent page, sheet music symbolizes the language of key 9, the erudite speaking with the voice of light. The voice, the universal language that unites all of mankind, is music. Here, the page features Canon in D, a piece with such precise harmonies as to be mathematical. It is controlled emotion. Canon in D was written by 17th century Baroque musical composer Johann Pachelbel, whose sun sign is Virgo. Oh, there you go. My passionate sense, said Albert Einstein in The World as I See It, my passionate sense of social justice and social responsibility has always contrasted oddly with my pronounced lack of need for direct contact with other human beings and human communities. I am truly a lone traveler and have never belonged to my country, my home, my friends, or even my immediate family with my whole heart. In the face of all these ties, I have never lost a sense of distance and a need for solitude. Here, key 9, the hermit of the mysteries, is cloaked and unseen from the physical senses. The true form of the hermit can only be known through physical attunement. Okay, and then it goes on, and I'm not gonna. So it's that light, the life of man. The one of the things that stands out the most to me is it's the Lucio non uro. Shine, not burn. Now, the Archangel of Mysteries is the Archangel of Mysteries, the angel who illuminates the shadow. Shine, not burn. But the Archangel of Glory is at the bottom of the deck. Ignis aurum probat. What does that mean? I feel like Ignis is fire. Aurum is gold. And probat, I don't know. Probo, probare, probawi, probatus. Am I going to look at that too? No, we're not going to get that deep. It's interesting. So there's the game that I'm playing, or the game that I finished in 2 days, the one I mentioned, Chance of Sonar. I kind of wish I would have streamed it a little bit, but I already beat it, so I feel like it wouldn't be, the same. It wouldn't be an authentic playing of the game. But in the game, there's a tower, and there are multiple levels of the tower. And you have the devotees on the first floor, the warriors on the second floor. It's almost kind of sort of giving me the caste system a little bit. Not necessarily super, but a little bit. You have the devotees on the first floor, the warriors on the second floor, the bards on the third floor, the alchemists on the fourth floor. And then at the top of the tower, you have what the alchemists referred to as fairies, but you have these like people. And it's interesting. So the point of the game is like, you don't know, each level, I guess the denizens all speak a different language. And you don't know what the language is. So you figure it out with puzzles and context clues. And then there'll be these things that pop up, and it'll be like images. And then the runes, it's runes. What's their alphabet? But like a rune represents an entire word rather than it being a letter. And so if you match the right rune to the right picture, it will unlock the meaning. And then from that point, I guess you could see if you got it right. Excuse me. And again, like every floor is a different language. And you start to kind of see, first of all, you get to see their relationships with each other, what the second floor people think of. And a lot of times it's the floor above and the floor below. So it's like the devotees only really have access to or see the warriors. Now the warriors feel some type of way or think a certain type of way about the devotees on the floor below them, and think and feel a different type of way about the bards above them. And then the bards feel some type of way about the warriors below them. I feel like they don't really reference the devotees on the first floor too much. Like there's a concept of the first floor, but they don't really, kinda. And then they don't really have too much of a concept of them on the floor above, I think. They kind of do, but like there's a blockage, there's a monster between their floor and the one above, and they mostly fear the monster. So they're like, it's dumb to even think of ascending. Like, just stay where we are. Don't go any lower. Just stay right here. And then when you get to the top, they're like trying to get to the top. And it was interesting sometimes to see like which words translated from language to language, and which floors, which peoples introduced like new words into the complete vocabulary that wasn't a part of another language. And one thing that they all had in common was their love of music. They all had a word for music, and they all appreciated music. Not only did they all like love and appreciate music, but it also seemed like they didn't think that the others loved music. Like music was the thing that united them, but they didn't. I guess the warriors knew that the bards had an appreciation for music, but I don't think the bards knew, because the bards are literally like musicians and stuff like that. So, it'd be pretty hard to, that's a part of the identity. It's music, comedy, and art, maybe. Um, but the bards don't think that the warriors like music because they're warriors. They're like, oh, they're so barbaric. And anything beyond that, like, I don't want to spoil it. It's decent. And then the ending, like when I got to the end of the game, I was like, oh my gosh, I didn't see that. But because this mentioned music as the voice of light, that's what brought it to mind. And then we also again have we don't have any sheet music, but we do have the trumpet and the Archangel of Glory. Oh wait, we do actually have some sheet music. There's some sheet music that connects the trumpet to the staff. Right there. There you go, you see it. The Angel of Art and Grace. So what, Venus and Pisces was meant to shine light shine light on certain things, but not so much that things burn. I'll probably end up clarifying that one. All right. Next we have, I think it's 2 cards. The Chariot and the Wish Granted. Cancer. There's the Chariot. The Chariot is also all cardinal signs. Luke's at Veritas. These two came out together last time because I remember it was light and truth from darkness. And then Jupiter in Pisces is the Wish Granted, 9 of Cups. Now, because this is all cardinal signs, there's a little bit of the energy of Aries here. Expounded upon in Pisces, we're actually going to see come into fruition through the space of Venus. We're going to see come into fruition with this cardinal energy. This in combination with the other one. So we have light from darkness, and then we have shine, not burn. So shine, not burn is also giving me an energy that, like, there's an awareness that we may have come into when Venus was in Pisces, but we weren't necessarily pressured into doing anything with that awareness. we weren't necessarily externally motivated, or we weren't necessarily made to feel like we had to do something with that. It was just like brought to our attention. But with this chariot, right? I mean, again, Aries is cardinal energy, but so is Cancer and Capricorn and Libra. Let's just check the cardinal signs real quick. Jupiter in my journey buddy just said this too. I know in May Jupiter is supposed to be no, it's going into mutable Gemini. Vesta is in Cancer. The South Node is in Libra. Caris is in Capricorn. She's at 17 degrees. Trining Jupiter in Taurus and Uranus, but more strongly right now, Jupiter. They're like 3 degrees away. I looked at her before to see if there was a grand Earth trine, because it's Caris at 1716 of Capricorn, Jupiter at 1825 of Taurus, Uranus at 2101, and then in Virgo, Juno is retrograde at 7 degrees, and then Black Moon Lilith is at 20 degrees. So the 20 degree one actually isn't too far. That would be closer. So there's a grand Earth trine between Caris and Capricorn, Jupiter and Uranus in Taurus, and Black Moon Lilith in Virgo. And a whole bunch of stuff in Aries. When is Venus going to go Kazini? I don't know. But I almost wonder if it's something that, like, it'll move when we move. There's also Jupiter, the Sun, and Venus all in a line on this middle row. Oh, I'm going to read that I Ching. I think this is mountain, and I think this is lake. I think this is lake. This is mountain, I think. I'm going to do lake over mountain. So where is Venus going to conjunct Jupiter? Gemini? Let's see. Excuse me. We have lake. Woo! That's lake, right? Yep. Lake over mountain. That's not mountain. No. Wow. It's thunder. I've seen thunder so much. I should have known that. Number 17. Lake over thunder is I Ching number 17. I think we just no. No, that was thunder over heaven that we had. So I Ching 17, inspiring others. Shine, not burn. This was Venus. Inspiring followers, Sui. Isn't Sui like something to do with water? I just think like Suigetsu from Naruto, Suigen, I think Kazejin and Suijin, Fujin, Kazejin. To lead, first you must serve. A follower becomes the leader. Followers must come to you by their own volition. You cannot secure them by force or cunning. Force them and they will resist. Serve them and they will serve you. Reward loyalty with generosity. Trust in your own excellence. The leader acts with logic and detaches from emotion, but inspire your followers to act with emotion and detach from logic. Adapt to the circumstances. Change and perseverance bring you prosperity. Unlikely folk become your allies. Diversity is how you accomplish your objective. The that's what it was. So there was a thing yesterday where it was like vampirism heightens emotions that humans feel at the moment that they turn into a vampire. So if a human has feelings for a vampire, then they will sire under the person, under the vampire if they turn them. Because the feelings that they have for that vampire are heightened. Like I just said, like 5 different ways. So something about that, like a follower becomes the leader, followers must come to you by their own volition. There's also something here almost of like baby birds that leave the nest and then build their own for their baby birds to leave the nest and build theirs. I feel like also too, this could be about commitment to something. And maybe that's why it was like shine not burn. First shine not burn, it still, well, it had a flavor of like there's something was illuminated. Something came to our awareness, but we may not have felt that it was for us to do anything about that awareness, or we may not have been forced to do anything. But now with this, with that I Ching, it could also be an energy that's almost like it was about maintaining something, like Venus was maintaining something in Aries or in Pisces. Venus was maintaining something in Pisces and not necessarily like birthing, not necessarily creating. And if there was a creation, it was probably to support like another creation. It doesn't necessarily feel like a brand new venture, but there was like a realization, a recognition, an idea that was planted. Now that Venus is in Cardinal Aries, maybe now she's going to be moving forward with that. The bottom of the deck is the Scarlet Shield, the power and authority of air. I guess Venus is opposing Libra, which she rules. And Libra is another cardinal sign. I think we'll just keep looking for now. Does that count? Yeah. Well, I was gonna say it, but then it came out. Double Pisces energy. The Necromancer Pisces, the Outlaw, the Hangman Pisces, Water Neptune Pisces. Behind the Outlaw or behind the Necromancer is Sacred Cinnabar. Behind the Gateway of Resurrection lies the Consummating. And Easter did happen in the same month as Pisces season this year. Instead of it being in April, it was in March. I was going to say there's something interesting about this. Like Venus started, or the first energy that came out was like Virgo. And then we get this expansion on the opposite side, Jupiter and Pisces. Now, again, that can play into there's an awareness building here, but it isn't necessarily time to do anything with it. It's like we're up here focused on this, doing whatever we're doing up here, but down here, there's something that's like growing. Now, full-blown Pisces energy comes out. Cancer sextiles Virgo. Cancer, Leo, Virgo. Cancer sextiles Virgo. So it could almost serve as the bridge to help Virgo get to Piscean energy rather than trying to like do an immediate 180. So that'd be what, a 60-120? Yeah, it's a sextile and a trine, duh. Okay. And then we have the Necromancer, which is the moon card in this deck, and the Sacred Cinnabar, which is the Ace of Swords. That came out. Was that yesterday? No. Or was that one of the Fools? Somebody somewhere recently, there was an energy where like somebody got something, and it was one of those, you'll know what to do with it when the moment comes. So in the anime that I was watching, they're the one about the bartender. There's the bar in the hotel, and they're looking for a bartender. The drink that they were asked to find a bartender who can make it is called Glass of God. It's the Glass of God. And they're like, Glass of God? Like, how are we? Nobody knows what that means. And then the chairperson is like, when you have the drink, you will know. You'll like when you've had it, you'll know that you've tasted it. When somebody serves you a glass of God, you will know. Which I guess is interesting because the Destroyer in the Revelations edition, the Ten of Swords, is about purifying the vessel to receive a divine gift. Like a glass of, anyway. A vessel. Anyway. And in conjunction with that, it came out somewhere. That energy of like when you take this, when the moment comes for you to use it, you will know. And it's almost like this. The Necromancer, this moon energy is the situation. And the knowing is already there. That's why this is coming up. But this is the last card or the last energy for Venus and Pisces. Like, if this came out in Venus and Aries, it would be easy to be like, oh, well, while Venus is in Aries, some piece of information that we got in the past is going to be useful now. But this came out in the same bracket. Oh, look at the Destroyer. Sun and Gemini. I was literally just talking about that. The Destroyer. Also, why was I mentioning Gemini? Because that's where Jupiter is going to move into. Jupiter is going to move into Gemini. Like next month. The first thing Venus in Aries is bringing is the Herald of the Flame. Awaken the brilliance. Now, the heralds, the strongholds, the pages, and the SKT come with messages. Also, that's the I Ching of Thunder, which was the I Ching of Jupiter. See, it's the same one as Jupiter on the cup. So but Jupiter is actually in Taurus. Bottom of the deck is the Star, which is Aquarius. This is like That's the lake that I thought Venus was. No, that's the lake that I thought Jupiter was. I thought Jupiter was in the lake, but it was actually thunder. I knew that. Oh, I already forgot what this is. No, that's like, I knew that. Yeah. Okay, what am I talking about? What did I think this was? No, this is mountain. Girl, hold up. Let me take a breath. Because I'm like, wait. Yeah, that's thunder. That's what I said. And this is lake. I thought thunder was the mountain, and I knew that lake was lake. Let me slow down so I can remain coherent. Um, it's interesting that, again, here we see the I Ching, and we see, who was it? Lake at the bottom of the deck, and thunder came out. Yeah, thunder was the page of wands that came out. Lake and thunder. And again, that's this Jupiter and Venus. Jupiter and Venus, lake and thunder. Maybe that's just a little confirmation that I enjoy those little confirmations sometimes, because otherwise it helps me justify to me the tangents. You know what I mean? See, this awaken the brilliance. I wonder if there was a recognition of the thing while Venus was still in Pisces, but nothing was done about it, or nothing was said, nothing was mentioned. Or if Venus in Pisces has just cemented the circumstances. Right? Like, let's say that you have a magical golden orb that does something wonderful in Target, but you don't know that. All you know is that you got a gold ball, and you're like, do I cash it in? You know what I mean? Like, is this like real gold? Like, is this worth money? Am I supposed to cash this in for like a mansion? And there's no nothing. But for some, let's say like you live in a area, in a place where there are no targets, but you end up like within the past week or so. I can't remember how long Venus was in Pisces, honestly. Not too long. But like, let's say that you get sent on a trip to Idaho, Boise, because that's a city in Idaho. And Boise, Idaho does have a target. And when you take the golden orb to that target, then you will know. Maybe the orb will glow, or something within you will just like know. So the confirmation of the circumstances, hey David, how you doing? The confirmation of the circumstance while Venus was in Pisces could have been like, oh, like I was just informed that I'm going to be going on this trip. But the trip actually happens while Venus is in Aries or some cardinal sign. I mean, the card says Cancer. Honestly, where's my fun? The card says Cancer, which is the summer. What's happening over? I don't remember what's happening over the summer. I feel like there's something that was happening this summer. Maybe some kind of conjunction. I don't know. That's from my birthday, like a while ago. And there's the Christmas tree that has Honestly, as I've moved this little table, it's fallen over. It's that little Christmas tree's been through it. But no, those balloons are uh, over a month old. I'm surprised, they're holding up decently well. Um, but and this like awaken the brilliance. It's almost like it's something is unfolding. I don't know if the Herald of the Flame is the signal. There is also this almost energy of like someone entering an unfamiliar place. Because if you look at the world behind the wall, it's different than the world on this side. What's in this letter? Of course it is. Thank you. The initiate. But this is the initiate in the or in the Revelations edition. Ooh. We saw the initiate with justice at the cut in the Vitruvian edition. What's interesting also is that when I did the I Ching, the collective I Ching, the Emperor came out at line number 5 in the Legends Tarot, and the Emperor was the Green Man. And this is almost giving me like a Green Man energy, almost at the top up there. But Mars, the Emperor, is still in Pisces. I mean, they did spend some time together in Pisces, I guess. This is almost like an invitation. I wonder if this is almost like, let's say that someone was given some kind of information or given some kind of revelation or understanding, some piece of knowledge. Someone was given some piece of knowledge. And it's almost like, I don't know if it's almost like there's some force or someone waiting to see what someone does with that knowledge. Because this is giving me I just started watching The Magicians again. It's giving me the invitation, and I hear like the break bills, do 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 do, like the song whenever they're like figuring something out in class or whatever. It's giving me some kind of invitation, and also it's like it's the justice too. Maybe there was some like kind of information that someone was giving again, yeah, because that's the energy. They were given that thing without context. And it's like, what do you do with this knowledge? What do you do with this information? Or like, let's say that someone came upon like a manifesting hack. And it's like, what are you going to manifest with it? With great power comes great responsibility. And likewise, to those who have proven themselves responsible, much is able to be bestowed upon them, unto them. And so it's almost like if you give someone like a little bit of responsibility or a little bit of something to see how they'll handle it before you give them the whole thing, right? Like you get your kid a pet fish before you get them like a dog or a cat or a pony, right? You ask someone to like you let someone borrow your car for a day, or like you let someone test drive your car before you let them like have it or borrow it or whatever. It's almost like that kind of energy, like trying to see what we would do with something. And I feel like that's also part of the shine, not burn. there was also because there's been the energy too of like um truth, like maybe harsh truths or things that aren't for children because a child does not have the capacity to process or understand a lot of things, and it's not for a child to have to. And so it's almost like you tell them a little before you like, and you kind of sort of like gauge their reaction and if they're like able to process it. Like there's this other I was watching anime before I came live. There's a few shows that came back for spring, and I'm so excited. Um, Not only did some shows come back for spring, today is a day of like things coming back. It's so this space is so interesting. There's this space of definite endings, potential new beginnings, and then things like coming back. Like there's some anyway, it's fine. A show that I didn't like, I forgot that it was coming back this season. They did, hey Janelle, how you doing? They did a recap episode this week, and I was like, oh, so next week like we're gonna get a full episode. Like a few days ago they did a recap, but the episode dropped. Slime is back. I was like, what? I wasn't expecting that. Something else came back today. I'm like, what? Love this. So excited. I just completely lost my train of thought. Excuse me. Something about stuff coming back. I don't remember. Because I was like, my show came back. My favorite breakfast food came back. A whole bunch of stuff is coming back. Things are ending. Things are beginning. Things are making a surprise return. The McRib is back. I don't know. No, my birthday was on the 28th of February. And the balloons are just like still there. But thank you. Which is funny because I still haven't made my obligatory social media thanks for all the birthday wishes post. Why was this song coming back? I don't remember. So yeah, there's almost like I don't know, some kind of testy trial. And then I guess it's also interesting. Maybe it was in that same reading. The one that I titled, it had progenitors and their proteges in the title. Not progenitors, patrons. Patrons and their patron was the word that I was trying to think of that I cannot remember. Patrons and their proteges. It's almost like Simna. Almost like a test, almost like a trial. And then like this, again, this awaken the brilliance. The awaken the brilliance feels like it turns up whatever was discovered here. And it's the hermit of the mysteries. Oh, wow. We have the hermit of the mysteries, the chariot of Osiris, and then the gateway of resurrection. And you know who was resurrected from the dead? Osiris. What? This is also hilarious. So there's a synchronicity to this. I went into work today. I had a meeting. And after the meeting, I saw one of my coworkers, I guess. I saw one of my coworkers. We work together, kind of. We work in the same place. And I was just talking about like what I was like, man, I like played games and I did all this in the 2 weeks. And like I was like, well, what do I do now? And my coworker, or did she talked about how she hasn't, yeah, I mentioned playing games and she was like, I haven't even really played the game. And then the other coworker was like, "Oh, what do you play?" And I was like, "She played like zombies. She's on Call of Duty." She was like, "I play that, but I also play whatever." He said he was into RPGs and he just started. Well, he said role playing games. He didn't say RPGs. He said he just started playing Diablo 4. Literally just started playing Diablo 4, and he's playing the Necromancer class. And then he said he was like a blood necromancer. He was like, you can hit enemies and then you like it restores your health. And I was like, why didn't you play like the necromancer? He was like, I am playing the necromancer. And I'm like the true necromancer, like summoning the dead. Because that's the one that I played. Because I mean, you get to have a lot of pets. I'm like, I love co-op games. And if I can make my solo experience more co-op by having pets, like I named a hunter in World of Warcraft because you get a pet. And this season, I made a necromancer to have pets, to have friends. But anyway, he said he was playing the necromancer. And I did roll a necromancer this season. No, I rolled a necromancer last season. This season, I rolled a druid. I'm playing a druid this season. I didn't really play this season. That's why I'm like. But anyway, necromancer came up earlier today, so that's interesting. So awaken the brilliance, Lucio non uro. I'm gonna pull before and after the erudite. Oh, look who's at the bottom of the deck. The Archangel of Mysteries. Angel who illuminates the shadow. Cool. I'm gonna look before and after the erudite. The destroyer is under, and then the seeker, the bread of life. So the bottom of the deck, the Archangel of Mysteries, the destroyer, and the champion. So the Archangel of Mysteries approaches the one who has achieved or overcome something, the one who has purified their vessel to welcome a divine gift. And then we have the scales of Anubis here. Now, in the Vitruvian edition, we see Anubis with his scales on the Necromancer. In the Revelations edition, we don't. And the jackals are free here in the Revelations edition, but they're tied up in the Vitruvian edition. This is the one that came out for Venus in Pisces. Now Anubis has shown up. Now I'm pretty sure that in the Vitruvian edition, this is the Chancellor, the same Chancellor that came out at the cut with the Initiate. There goes my mama, my number one fame. See? She holds the scales of Anubis. But now Anubis shows up holding his own scales. Or he shows up with his scales. After this destroyer, after the champion. Oh, there was it's fine. And then after that, we have the seeker and the bread of life. The seeker is one step beyond the initiate. And then the keeper is a step beyond the seeker. The deepening. See, but with the champion has already won the rights to the single born fruit of the tree of knowledge. But I guess it's like sitting on the ground and maybe she doesn't know it. Now it's being like picked up and like offered to her. Or maybe she's being made aware of it. Interesting. But we did start with the Archangel of Mysteries, who's holding it. The champion wins it after her vessel is purified. Maybe that's the divine gift or a part of the divine gift that she wins in this destroyer. See, it's almost like, I guess the weird thing about this is just like this stuff up here, where it feels like it's already been given. Like it's low key giving me Juneteenth, just in the way of like Juneteenth is the celebration of the last of the slaves being made aware that they were free. Like Abraham Lincoln freed them with the Emancipation Proclamation, but but the plantation, not every plantation owner in the South notified their slaves that they were free. They weren't necessarily volunteering that information. Like, oh, hey, by the way, Abraham Lincoln like freed you with the Emancipation Proclamation. You know, like we lost the war, but you know, that didn't happen. And it's just like it's giving me that because it feels like the thing was already there. Or something was already earned, something was already given. And this is like the, hey, did you get that thing? And then you're like, oh, like, let me go check them out. Like, maybe it's been in the mailbox. Maybe someone's on vacation and it was delivered when they were gone. But it's like it was all like it was already given here before the necromancer, gateway of resurrection. And then we have the seeker, and then it's like it's given again. But it's like you already have the answer to the, well, maybe that's the point. I guess, yeah, that's the thing, right? We're already given the solution to the problem before we encounter the problem, or we're already given the solution before we encounter the problem. And that's why it's that when you, like, when the time comes to use this, you will know. Because we've already been given the solution before we're like way before we even encounter the problem. So maybe that's the thing too. Okay. We're still looking for the hermit to clarify whatever this was. Oh, look at that. And then we have the lovers, and there is the single born fruit of the tree of knowledge. So it's offered to this person, the single born fruit. But again, like this is the same single born fruit of the tree of knowledge that the person already won in the champion. It's like it's sitting right there with a little laurel wreath around it. Like that was part of someone's winnings. Interesting. And then we got the Seven of Swords and the Reaper. All right. I'm looking for the erudite. I'm getting hungry. I feel like lately, like after I go, I just get like so hungry. Justice over here is with the chariot over here, which is interesting. To me, at least. The memory keeper was still in reverse. I thought I turned that up right. Oh, look. Ace of Swords and Isis. The same Ace of Swords that's with the Necromancer up here. Because of this, I guess it is, but it isn't, but it is. So it was the memory keeper, the sacred word, the bereaved. The memory keeper, Six of Cups, was still in reverse, so I turned it up right. But with it in reverse, it's like whatever this Ace of Swords is, it's not for something in the past. It's for something that's yet to come. It's for something that's yet to happen. So in the metaphor, it was like, what's the golden orb? That's for target. Bullseye Taurus season. And that's when Jupiter makes that transit, maybe. If we go like, oh, like this is solid gold, I meant to sell it so I can use the money to do whatever I want. It's like it is a test, but it isn't. But it's just like if we sell the orb for money because that's what we want to do with it, then we won't have it when we go to Target. It's almost like the events will still play out the same way. We'll still encounter the problem, but we won't have the solution when we need it because we've already like used it or done something with it or gave it away. And the last thing I talked about giving away was like what our power, how sometimes we don't give away our power, or sometimes our power isn't taken from us as much as it is hidden from us. Meaning we still have it, but we've just been convinced that we don't have it. And I say that because like we saw a healthy Osiris here. Then we have the Ace of Swords with the Necromancer, Gateway of Resurrection. Now with the Ace of Swords, we see Isis when she needs it. I guess in this instance, like life isn't black and white, right? It isn't necessarily like, oh, well, once you use it one time, it's gone forever. But within the context of the metaphor that is the symbol for symbolic of whatever, the energies, it's almost like if the resurrection magic could only be used once. Maybe it has a cost that someone can only pay one time. Maybe the cost is just so astronomical that like you can't pay it twice because whatever, it's like if it costs a heart and you only have one heart, you can only pay that one time. And I guess it's not just any heart. It's the heart that's lighter than the feather. So it doesn't, maybe it won't cost a heart in terms of like you forfeit your heart. But maybe it's almost like the way that we're changed after something happens makes our heart non-viable to try to use it to pay the same price. Like maybe there's a certain threshold of ignorance, right? It's like, oh, like you didn't know. But once you know, you can't say that you didn't. You can't use that, oh, I didn't know excuse with the same judge in the same court for the same reason. So it's like you did know because we've been through this before. So now the excuse of ignorance is no longer valid, or the excuse of inexperience is no longer valid because we would be experienced by that point. Like we also saw the seeker. Well, right after that? Yeah, we saw the seeker right after the necromancer. So whatever this necromancer, whatever this thing that while Venus was in Aries, we began to get an understanding of, as soon as we use that, we come into this seeker energy. We start with the initiate here. And again, like this is the page, she's like brand new to this world. The world on the other side of the wall is different. She didn't know, but now she does. She's experienced now. It's almost like how, like, in some companies and organizations, you can only level up or make lateral moves. Like, you can't go back down the chain once you ascend the ladder. And that was one of these cards. Foul play? No. What card was it? It was the Beckoning Will-O-Wisp. Follow the light at your own risk. That energy, or that flavor text, that tagline right there. Follow the light at your own risk. Luke's ex tenebris, light from darkness, but then the chariot, light and truth. And that's a capital T truth. That may be a capital TRUTH truth. And then the hollow void is here after the bereaved. I don't know if I missed it. Oh, that's a little heavy. Because this would be like, again, if we had used the solution before we encountered the problem, memory keeper in reverse, because we thought it was related to something of the past when really it's about the future. That could be like, let's say that we're in a vulnerable position, right? Like, let's say that we are led, guided to be vulnerable and open up, but to open again, because this is the return of things. And I guess Mercury is retrograding Aries right now. We're like led and guided to open up and be vulnerable. And it's almost like within the space of this Mercury retrograde, while Venus is also in the same sign, it's almost like there is this dual potential to both progress and regress, to go forward or to go back. And let's say it manifests as like two different people. Maybe we don't meet them at the same time. I don't think we do. But we could. And like, let's say we use that vulnerability with something of the past and then we get hurt again. Now we feel some type of way about our intuition. Now we feel some type of way about our discernment. Now we may feel some type of way about the divine, about God. And like, how could you let me go through this again? Or how could you lead me to this or guide me to that? But like, it was for this other person, for the progressive, like that's where we were supposed to be vulnerable, because that's like a safe space for vulnerability. But again, it's the now moment. And the now moment, it makes sense to charge up your credit card because the future doesn't exist. And the now moment, it makes more sense to look back on what you already know, because at least that is more certain than an unknown future. And so we kind of low-hanging fruit, pick the best of what was, use our vulnerability there to the point where we meet the new person that we were supposed to meet. We've been hurt in that vulnerable space again. And now it's even more difficult to open up than it was before. And so we burned that vulnerability on the past. It was in reverse. And that's why now when the time comes to be vulnerable, now the time for that resurrection magic is now that Osiris is gone. This isn't like random Billy #1 or Sarah #15 or who, like Osiris to Isis. That's what the magic was for. That was the problem to the solution that she was given. But if she had already used it, like here's the hollow void, the 4 of Cups. It's like it can't be done. And then there's the scorpion of death in the tree out of reach. And then maybe whatever this thread is, it snaps. Because the magic that was to be used on Osiris has instead been used somewhere else. And that lifeline is like cut. Now in this deck, she doesn't give me Temptress like she does in the Vitruvian edition. But here's the Temptress. I'll show you her too. And again, that's part of the test that isn't a test. But it's like it's not, but it is. But it isn't. And she doesn't, I feel like, well, maybe kind of, I'm not going to say all of the queens, but there are some cards in some decks that like have come out in such a specific context so many times. They've come out in a specific context often enough that they kind of sort of carried that connotation. Here she is. Here's the Ebony Shield in the Vitruvian edition. And it feels like in the Vitruvian edition, there's something she doesn't offer what is behind the shield. Her shield is still raised. There is still something that she's protecting. She offers this to like get us to go away. She's like, oh, just charge it. She's like, just charge it. Just use your credit card. Just do this. Just do that. Like it's easy. It's immediate. It's right in front of you. Like do it. And that's future use problem. You can worry about it at some other point in time. Like that version of you technically doesn't even exist because it exists in a moment that is not the now. That's why she gives me, but it's like, again, like devil energy, like the point is not to give in. And it's almost like whenever you see that energy, it's not necessarily do the exact opposite because reverse psychology is old. Reverse psychology is one of the oldest tricks. Like people use it's even like it's almost like trying to use reverse psychology on a kid, and the kid is even like, I see what you're trying to get me to do. I'm still not gonna do it. It's like if there's a kid and you want them to clean up a mess, and the kid's like, no, and then you're like, oh, like so you can't clean it? Wow. And like, yes, I can clean it. And then they go and do the thing that you wanted them to do that they didn't want to do, but now they want to do it to prove to you that they can do it. Like reverse psychology it's old. And if the limit of our like discernment is do the opposite, everybody knows that. And if they know whoever they is, if you're known to be a do the opposite person, they'll just tell you the opposite of what they want you to do. And then you'll do the opposite thinking that you're not doing what they want you to do. But in reality, you're doing exactly what they want you to do. Because again, reverse psychology is old. And for people who aren't trusted, more often than not, they know that they're not trusted. And it's just like sometimes, again, like I don't know if it's um, an off product, a byproduct of the world as it is now, where our intuition and our discernment has to be even sharper than it was before. Because now there's so much information. There are so many truths or so many statements that are differing degrees of truth that is more or less resonant and applicable to us. It's like the market's been flooded with, like, let's use like luxury apparel, right? It's almost like you go from this one company that manufactures knockoff D&G, I guess Dollar General. um, you have this one company that manufactures knockoff products, and there's a signature that they have. And so it's easy to identify them as non-designer. But now you have like 5,000 companies that are all manufacturing knockoff with different, like, not MOs, but with different signature trademarks. And so if you just look at it, almost goes back to yesterday with the scorpion versus the snake. And also, like, it's not that simple. But this is part of the complexity that I guess we're coming into, because spiritually, mentally, emotionally, we're not children anymore. And we have manifested, a whole bunch of people all over the world, all over the internet, have manifested an ascended, awakened humanity. People have been talking about the age of Aquarius since who knows how long. And so we can't be treated as children anymore. Because of 2020 and before, everyone's asking for the truth. Everyone wants the truth. Everyone wants to know what's real. And everyone has a different version of the truth. And with social media being what it is, anybody can share their truth and anybody can go viral. So more and more and more and more people, because of algorithms and the way that things that go viral works, well, now there's even more people exposed to this. And again, maybe it resonates as more true than the other thing, but again, it's like our discernment needs to be like on point. Our internal needs to be to the point where it can meet the external. If the external is bringing more and more truth to the forefront, to the surface, then the internal needs to be more and more in touch and in tune and aware of the self to meet that growing truth outside. Because again, like, if it's one company making knockoffs and they have a signature, it's easy. I don't know. It's just like part of this energy. Like, there are a lot of things that go into a lot of stuff. And we were kind of sort of not, like, we weren't living life on easy mode, but we were playing the game on easy mode. But it's like the difficulties increased. And it's a byproduct of what's been manifested. Everyone's coming into their own truth, and anybody can have a platform. I'm anybody. Hi, welcome. If this don't resonate for you, don't take it. You know what I mean? And if you already know that you know that you know that you are where you are meant to be, then stay there. I'm not saying anybody has to move or anybody has to leave. Because again, I'm one person living his own journey that may or may not be yours. And sometimes I read journeys that aren't mine. And I'm like, this doesn't resonate for me. I don't operate in this way. But and again, like, it can be so coherent that it's like, this is somebody. And it's just like giving advice, right? Like, if we give advice to someone, it may be more beneficial for them to get advice that's relevant to like who they are as a person and their situation, instead of, well, if I were in your position, this is what I would do. Which may be helpful if they need an outside perspective. If part of their solution is go about it in a different way. But if they need advice as them, then what I would do wouldn't necessarily be helpful. And if I position myself to be an advisor, then at the very least, I should try to be open to giving advice to different types of people who aren't me. You know what I mean? Anyway, the Archangel of Healing, the Keeper, and the Priestess. And then behind the Priestess is the New World Order. And again, it's almost that energy of like things just work in a different way. There's the Keeper, the step beyond the initiate. Or the step beyond the Keeper, the step beyond the Seeker. Goodness. Also, I literally just saw her at the bottom of the deck. In the Vitruvian edition, the Ivory Shield is my BTFU card. Oh, and I love this. This is a card, and it's because of circumstance. This is what she's come to mean to me. Sometimes the Ivory Shield will come out as the Queen of Cups if I'm using this deck. But sometimes, and you can see her Celtic, what's that? The Triquetra. That's not the Triskelion. The Triskelion is the other swirly one that was on one of these cards. Anyway, she's my card that comes out whenever there's something that will resonate as true for somebody else, that not only is it not true for me, but it's like I won't be able to read it accurately. Either A, I won't be able to read it accurately, and for me to say anything to that person could completely derail them, because what do I know? Or it's just an indicator of the sacredness of that space. There are some things that are between us and the divine purely. And she is my indicator for either one of those two. And behind her is the Three of Cups, the Kindred. This is the card of hydromancy. And unlike the card of pyromancy, each one of these people are divining within their own cup, receiving their own prediction, their own prophecy. It's different for everybody. Unlike the Three of Wands, where they all come together and they gaze into the same fire and receive more or less the same prophecy, but from different viewpoints and different perspectives. Here, it's different for everybody. And they stand behind this Queen of Cups. Oh, also that's Mercury in Cancer. Cancer is this Chariot that's right here. And so just how in this Ivory Shield, everyone was standing with their own prophecy. Also, we see, look at their shoulders. Look at the jackals. The jackals that are tied up, you see the crescent moons. And then you see the crescent moons there on their shoulders. Over here, the same Archangel of Healing is with the Keeper. So they go from getting their own prophecy, following their internal truth and resonance and refined, honed discernment, to mastering whatever they were mastering and being in a place of conversation with the High Priestess. And the topic of discussion is this New World Order and how things are going to change, or how things are going to, again, it's giving me circumstances from the magicians, how external circumstances are going to change. And when external circumstances change, the way that magic works, the way that manifestation works is different. At least in the context of the show. They're like, oh, magic is broken. Magic has become so unpredictable because it was the circumstances that everything was established under. The circumstances of the world now is completely different because people, like every average, ordinary, everyday us, the people who make up the collective, like we're different. Our lives are different. What we are actively seeking is different. Before, there were a lot of things that people wanted, and there were a lot of things that people were seeking. But because of the nature of, because of the, like, I want to say cognitive, almost like pun intended, like cogs in the machine, but also cognitive in the way that we like think about it and process it. Because of the cognitive nature of the world before, even if it's something that we like wanted, it's just like we kept going with it anyway. But when everything was stopped, when everything was disturbed, when the cogs grinded to a screeching halt, then it was like, oh, well, like, let's actually do this. Like, what's like really real? Like, what's really, really, really going on? You know what I mean? Whereas before, maybe we had those questions to some degrees, but it's like, oh, well, that's just the way the world works. Oh, this is just what you have to do in order to get by. You have to work a job that you hate. You got to marry somebody that you can't stand for financial stability. You have to settle down and have kids, even if you don't have the patience for children or you don't have the desire to raise children. You got to work as this or you got to work as that. If you want to be respected, no one can work remote. You got to show up to the office for productivity, even though, and sometime you're going to discover that you can be more productive remotely. It's just like the way that things worked. And just like things worked a certain way in the world physically, governmentally, they worked a certain way in the world, like spiritually, mentally, and emotionally. We still ain't where. Okay, let's go. I am looking for the erudite. Hold up. I take that back. This is the ivory shield. The ivory shield is with the warrior. That was the archangel of healing that was with the keeper, wasn't it? Who was that with the keeper? Here we go. Yeah, it was the archangel. The archangel of healing was with the keeper. Well, the archangel of healing lies beyond the ivory shield. You got to go through the ivory shield before you can even reach the archangel of healing. But let's see where the archangel of healing is over here, just to keep it 1-to-1 fair. Because that's showing up. I didn't even catch that. I'm so in the whatever. There's the archangel commander. Archangel of mysteries is with the high priestess. She's not on the table. Is she at the top of the deck too? Oh, so the archangel of healing is with the magician and the discerning one. The archangel of healing, the magician, and the discerning one. Guess what's after the discerning one? I'll give you a hint. It's a card that I already looked for. It's the ebony shield. The discerning one, I would hope, would be able to discern that is not what they're after. This is the apple is not the single born fruit of the tree of knowledge, even though it's commonly referred to as an apple. It actually isn't the apple. So this is not, it's fine. That's not the single born fruit of the tree of knowledge. The single born fruit of the tree of knowledge, I know where she is here because she came out. This is the single born fruit of the tree of knowledge, not this apple that the ebony shield is holding. It's the same. I'm pretty sure it's the same in this deck. Like that, you can tell that that's not an apple. This is common misconception. That's the truth of the world before what we thought and what we believed. Now, what's interesting is, again, what is the single born fruit of the tree of knowledge is the archangel of mysteries that we saw right here. If you can make it beyond the ruse of the ebony shield, you get the truth at the archangel of mysteries. This is the shield that protects the king in this suit. Just like if we can make it beyond the ivory shield, we'll get to the archangel of healing, which was the one with that high priestess. See, I'm starting to do too much. I'm gonna forget. Oh, ivory shield is with the warrior, which is the sun. Do. And I'm still looking for the erudite. I don't even remember where this was. I'll just put it. Oh, there's the bread of life. Cool. Oh gosh. And I already just randomly put it back in the deck. Here's the Three of Wands, by the way. And the Three of Wands, they all get together, gaze into the same fire, get the same prophecy, but from three different perspectives. Also are representatives of time, the past, the present, and the future, and how the same thing can look different from each point of view. The Ace of Cups that was behind the ebony shield is now here behind the erudite. The corruptor is turned away from, or the erudite is turned away from the corruptor towards the Holy Grail. Now that actually looks pretty similar to our single born fruit. At the very least, it looks more like it than the apple. The apple is a match in color. The pearl is a match in appearance. The difference between these two could literally be lighting. It appears one way, like it appears differently in the dark than it does in the daytime. Oh, I meant to put this back. Oh, well. Oh, look, there's the keeper. I'll put it right there. I probably could have kept it out. I'll keep it out. I'll take it back out. Is that a seagull? If it is, cool. I love it. Was it the Seven of Cups that came out to tempt Venus? Maybe it was, maybe it wasn't. I was using a different deck. The Ace of Chalice is the purifying. I love that. We have the purifying Ace of Chalices with the corruptor. That purification again happening in while Venus was in Pisces and beyond. And before that. This is clarifying this. But Luke's ex tenebris, light from darkness, to have the purification of whatever this corruptor was putting out. And again, in this deck, it requires a certain ability to look at the self. One has to be able to see the axe of Shiva removes corruption. And again, we see those two moons, the two moons that are bound here. Maybe this is the axe that cuts that rope and sets the jackals free. The jackals, the freed jackals that we saw in the Revelations edition. Now these moons more, because these are pointed like away from each other. These are pointed towards each other. So technically, they more closely match the Chariot, which is the truth. It brings truth to that light that we found in the darkness. And maybe that truth is like, let's say that there are things that we kind of realize about ourselves, or things that we realize about the world that we don't want to accept. So even if the light, even if the illumination is there, behind the Ace of Cups is Apocalypse, Last Judgment. I love that the purifying happens before Last Judgment, just like I love that the Six of Wands happened before Anubis. And like, to me, that would just read as like being given the chance to accomplish something, being given the chance to, again, the Destroyer is a card of purifying the vessel so that it's capable of receiving a divine gift. Given a chance to purify, given a chance to overcome and achieve before our heart is weighed against the scale. Again, like, we wouldn't have the excuse of ignorance at that point because we would know. Maybe again, because this is clarifying Lucio non Uro. That's the almost the opposite of this energy. Now I gotta find it. That's almost the opposite of the energy of, oh, here's the island right here. Ooh, the island is where it's thunder now. Lightning. Okay, anyway. Because this was burning. The energy here, like fire was agitating the water and getting it to like move, getting it to evaporate, getting it to boil. And that's what was getting rid of the stagnation. That's why this is an island of water instead of a swamp of darkness. Was this on the, I guess this was on the bottom of the deck? No, this was under it. Light up the night. Oh, well, literally light up the night. Before it is thunder. I was more focused on like, oh, there's the thunder of what, Tovalar? Talaria. This is Talaria. Where time had stopped once, but where it's beginning to move again. So it's not at the point where it's burning. So this here isn't necessarily at the point where it was like, again, there was an illumination, but there was no force. So the water wasn't forced to stir or move. But I don't know if this is like an over time thing that it purifies more and more. Maybe it's giving me Konosuba a little bit. There was a polluted body of water that attracted crocodile monsters. The crocodile is the eater of those of heavy hearts with those scales of Anubis. So the poisoned water, I guess that's accurate in a way, was attracting crocodile monsters. So if it's attracting crocodile monsters, then poisoned water could be poisoning the hearts of men that would make them poisoning the hearts of people that would make them heavier. And then it's like a whole bunch of heavy hearts that need to be eaten. Maybe it was too much for one crocodile, so the crocodile had to call in some buddies. And again, I don't know if like at a certain point in time that was the point, to make hearts heavy, to keep us so busy or whatever that we didn't have time to do any of the things that we were almost suddenly forced to do. And there was a goddess of water. Her name was Aqua, fittingly. Her name was Aqua! And in the Yu-Gi-Oh, we had that spear, the spear of truth and the spear of reform. The power of Kaishin. Kaishin was truth and reform. Equipped only to an Aqua monster. Her name was literally Aqua, and she was a goddess of water. Also giving me the Trishula, trident of Shiva, that has much of those corruption removing properties that the spear of Shiva has. But it's like the lake was so polluted that like all she had to do was sit in it. She didn't have to do any, she didn't have to do any special magic to purify the water, but they put her in a cage so that she would be safe. Then she started using magic because the crocodiles were like tearing at the cage, and she was like, oh my gosh, I can't just let this actively be anymore. She sat out there like completely chill until the crocodiles came. Then she was like, okay, we need to speed this up. And I don't know if like the chariot coming is that, okay, we need to speed it up energy. But again, the purifying of the corrupted, both of these are cups cards, water, the goddess Aqua monsters, the power of Kaishin being conversation and reform. I think that was it. Cool. Love it. And then we did just see the goddess of healing. That was with whatever card she was with. Okay. I need to get through this. Oh, look, we have the force at the cut. I'm going to give this a few shuffles because I looked all up and down this deck. Okay. Well, I got like half of it to shuffle. And then there's the other half. And again, like, there's something about a revelation, but there's no force. this could also be stuff that isn't forced anymore. And I wonder if, too, our free will is going to be honored and respected in a certain type of way. Because again, how you treat the child is different than how you treat the adult. How you treat the ignorant is different than how you treat the informed. Because if someone is ignorant, they don't know. Not ignorant in any way other than someone who does not know. Not ignorant in a derogatory way. Literally, someone who does not know. But once they know, it's different. And so maybe the game is different. Or maybe we've just arrived to a state in life collectively where things are different. And maybe when we were children, we can get away with a certain amount of non-participation. Maybe we couldn't. I don't know. I literally just thought of this dream the other day, probably yesterday. Probably because a salad bowl of eccentrics. After I went live, it like literally popped up. I literally, you said mountain and lake. I have those. But I'm not gonna. It's fine. We saw the art cards. Is that the mountain? No, that's the forest. Well, it's an island. Anyway, I'm not. It's fine. Excuse me. That was the I Ching, too. The illuminated mountain. What was I talking about? The dream. I had a dream a while ago that there was some magical world that had opened up. And there were ambassadors from the magical world that were set to greet people from our world. And they got together and they were like, welcome. This is the world of magic. And the people from our world, they were like, oh, like, we know what magic is. And they were like, no offense, but magic where you come from is completely different than magic over here. Magic where you come from is trying to squeeze water out of a rock. Magic over here is you live in the middle of the ocean. Type like just that kind of like, and there was something so not necessarily dogmatic, but something not necessarily dogmatic, not necessarily rehearsed, but something very like structural, I guess. Almost sorceress about magic where we come from. And there was something that was a lot more like free and abundant and natural where we were like going. And maybe that's the rules of the game changing. I don't know. But there are many benefits to being an adult outside of responsibility. There they go. And the Knight of Cups, each one moving in their own way. Cool. Now all right. Venus in Aries in 3 cards, or in 3 energies. The first one is face down. I'm going to honor that. The second one is the Hierophant, which is Taurus, which is Venus ruled. This is the Hierophant that I love. Master of the Arcanes. Interesting. You remember how the Dark Horse is at the bottom of the deck? There's almost a game of association here. This is a multi-layered test that's not a test that is a test. That isn't a test, that is a test. So there's the magic of resurrection. Isis is to use that on Osiris when Osiris dies, and Set, like the embodiment of chaos, kills Osiris. Her magic, her resurrecting Osiris, is the beginnings of the return of order, because they have Horus, and Horus defeats Set. Rusty, okay, incomplete knowledge over here. But since I'm the one that's like reading, I gotta do within me, right? So that's how it's coming to me. If you know more, it would come to you in a way that would get you there. Okay, but I don't. Isis resurrects Osiris, and then they have Horus. Horus is the one that brings back order, right? So the resurrection magic is meant to resurrect Osiris. It's meant for the progressive thing, not the thing that's doing that retrograde thing. And like we learn either way, so it's no big deal, right? And our journeys are different. Like I'm constantly, mistakes aren't a thing if you learn from them. Okay. Trust. Now it's almost like it isn't until there's something about Isis using the resurrection magic to resurrect Osiris rather than like something about the golden orb in Target rather than selling it for money to get a car or whatever. There's an association in the brain that is made that it's the runes of or the chants of Sonar. It's that game I was telling you about where you have to there are like 5 different languages that you don't know and you figure it out. It's like when you take the orb to target, there's an orb target association in your brain, and then you see a truth of that magic. You see a truth that you wouldn't have seen if you sold it for money to get whatever you were going to get with the money. And so that truth is like, again, it's almost the unfolding that happens with this awaken the brilliance, the unfolding of whatever light and of whatever truth that was found in the dark. Something about the circumstance and the situation when it's applied properly or used in the correct way reveals something, and that's the master of the arcanes, or it's related here in some way, somehow. Oh look, there's a Merkaba up there. Or a Merkaba, or however you pronounce that. And that's like a part of the test that isn't a part of the test that is a test that isn't a test. It's like because again, before there's so much in that energy of like, when the time comes, you will know. There's so much in the energy of being given the solution before the problem appears. Because like again, we don't know anything about the solution. Like, what is this golden orb for? What does it do? Why do I have it? Why was I given this? When am I going to use it? Should I always carry it with me just in case? Is it okay if I forgot it at home today? You know what I mean? But when the situation arises, not only can we handle that situation, but also it like there's so much more that we get to know about the thing that we were given, outside of just like, oh, it's a band-aid, you put it on a cut. It's like, no, that's like, it's some miracle, whatever. You can apply it to more than just cuts. You can put it on the forehead of someone who has food poisoning and it will cure the food poisoning. Hey, Zelda. And like, that's this master of the arcanes, but it feels like it happens because of a series of learning. And again, we've seen the initiate and then the keeper, and then, no, we've seen the initiate and then the seeker and then the keeper. Like there's this natural evolution. There's this natural learning process, just like children sort of naturally grow. Like you start by crawling and then walking and then running and then they're flying because they're Jack Jack. But Jack Jack was still a baby. I feel like Jack Jack could fly before Jack Jack knew how to walk. But anyway, The Incredibles. See you later. It feels like that's this master of the arcanes. But again, it's interesting that it's coming out as Taurus. I feel like there's a lot of Jupiter. I guess Venus and Jupiter are the two benefics. And I don't know when and I don't know where Venus and Jupiter are going to conjunct. I guess it could also be Uranus, because Uranus is the Fool, actually, and the Fool part is here. But Uranus is also in Taurus. This is almost giving me a mini path synergy because of the flowers wrapped around the two pillars. Like there are many paths to enlightenment. But also, you see the roses over here. She's giving me um, the solar rose on the crown. I don't know if it'll focus. But like this Ace of Swords is one path. There's a completely different path. And it's interesting that these flowers almost remind me of the trumpet flowers that I saw on the Hierophant in the Prime Muse. It was on the Magician, on the Hierophant, and I think on some other card. But on that card, that was the Hierophant after. So there was already the wreath that symbolized completion. Like this path already completed. But we see the path of the rose here. This is but one path. So if I'm reading, like, again, like use your own this is such a like use your discernment, use your intuition. I think I'll send Reem a voice note, and I'm like, I don't necessarily feel hypocritical, but it's like I feel like there's so much about like you following your path, and it's like I'm not you. You know what I mean? Even if I could glean something, I guess if I could glean something and it resonates for you and it gets you set in the direction that is yours, then it would be helpful. Potentially. But I can't tell you what your path is. And so I'm like, it's almost like, well, what's the point? You know what I mean? Like if you just like, you know what I mean? Like, what's the point if I don't know? Anyway. So Master of the Arcanes. Did we see the hold up? Again, we did just have that patrons and their proteges energy. But also, there was something, I had it and then I lost it. It's gone. If it's your path, as you navigate your path, you will reach that point. So I don't, it's fine. And then there's the quester at the bottom of the Six of Swords that is literally always there. This is the point that we continue to move towards. But as we continue to move, again, it's like as you go from floor to floor, even if the words are the same, the language is different. There's devil energy on the bottom of the deck. That bleeding heart. It's like if you put an Ace of Cups there, then there would be no need for devil energy to try to like put the lovers in chains. And maybe that could speak to, I like to like sometimes dress things up as like better than they may be. So like instead of saying like this could speak to the competitive nature of people, like, oh, I see somebody over there and I feel like they're doing better than I'm doing. So let me send them evil eye or do this weird people stuff. Instead of, work on my stuff over here, let me try to derail somebody else over there, which will still not get me anywhere, but maybe it'll make me feel better. So instead of that, it's almost like no one wants to be alone. So even if the hard work is hard. And even if we hit a rough patch, like this could be the like not wanting to be alone. On one hand, it could be it's like it's difficult, it's challenging, it's hard work, it's not easy. And I don't know if it's necessarily meant to be, but the payoff, at least hopefully for some, is worth it. It is to me. Um, but it's like a bad situation that gets worse. Especially if they're like there's your core people or your support system, but like your support starts to like heal and move on, then this is more of that like not wanting to be alone than necessarily like competitive everything else. Or maybe it is that competitive. Well, if I girl, good luck. All right, Venus in Aries and beyond, but like Aries, what's the third energy? Ooh. I don't know how I feel about this. The third card came out sideways, the hallowed flame, and it's the awakening. The awakening came out sideways. The bottom of the deck is the seeker, spirit in search of science. Oh, right behind the seeker is the keeper. Behind the keeper is the archangel of healing. And then behind the archangel of healing, the herald of the winds, the bereaved, the wish granted. This almost feels like the solution was given before the problem arises. I feel like this is almost the energy of like the Six of Wands. The champion had already won the single born fruit of the tree of knowledge. And then it was brought back to her in, was it the deepening? The bread of life, Ace of Pentacles. This is almost a reminder that's like the Herald of the Winds comes back and she's like, you already have the solution to this problem. It's the wink, wink, nudge, nudge, like golden orb. Or maybe you see like synchronicities of like you go into Target, because again, like maybe you don't know. Maybe you do know. And that this part of the message don't resonate for you. But you go into Target, you have your golden orb. Again, you don't necessarily know that Target is the solution. Venus and Pisces just happen to put you on a path. Speaking of paths, I guess it put you on a path where now you're in a place where there's a target, and you go into Target and you see golden orb synchronicities. I was going to say like symbols. You see golden orb synchronicities all over the place. Like that synchronicity is like your clue, your cue to like, oh my gosh, this is the place where the golden orb is supposed to be used. Like this is the reminder. This is the reminder. Now we have the solution to resurrect Osiris, and then the wish is granted. But this is the wish that this is the wish that Isis's heart truly longs for. Again, it can be one of those things where it's like, had I known that I would be in this Target right now, I wouldn't have sold the golden orb to get a cheeseburger last week. I would have kept it if I had known. And it's just like this, that's the level of depth of the wish that can be granted. Like that's what you would really want. And I don't know if it's like a hint, if it's a clue, if it's a reminder, but the fact that the awakening came out on the side, maybe it speaks to the double-edged nature of a lot of things, you know? Right? Like, let's say you go on a healing journey, and because you change and the things that you like change, your Like, let's say, like, you know how the devil energy was like one side of the equation. Like, let's look at the other side. Like, I didn't know that if I had done so much healing that like I would fall out of resonance with my friends and my family and my support system. And I don't like, I no longer want to do the things that I used to do. And now I feel alone because I don't know anyone who does the things that I want to do now. All I know are the people who still want to do the things that I don't want to do anymore. Like that's the double-edged nature of it. I kind of like hit my upper lip a little bit. But had you known that it may take you some time to find people who like to do what you like to do now, would you trade all that you've gained for it? Would you trade all that you've gained to go back? Would you be the dude who's like, plug me back up, plug me back into the matrix? I've tasted non-matrix food. Non-matrix food is literal mush. Wipe my memory, plug me back into the matrix. Let me steak. Please let me have a steak. Just let me have a steak. They don't have steaks outside of the matrix. If you had told me that there are no steaks, no French fries, and no Coca-Cola outside of the matrix, I would have stayed plugged in. Some people genuinely, honestly feel that way. And that is a legitimate, valid response, reaction, and emotion. You know, it is. If you feel that way, it's valid because you feel that way. And your feelings are valid. But also, it may speak to like an untold, unknown chaos that would also come with an awakening process. To go from not knowing to knowing is to potentially invite a certain amount of work to overcome a gap of understanding. And then it's to put oneself in a position to question things that maybe one never thought they would have necessarily had to question. And then it's also to put oneself in a position where maybe they don't know anything about life or moving through life anymore because so much is so different. Like there are so many things. What was it like recently? Where it's like if you're manifesting the destination, you're also manifesting the journey. You're also manifesting the process. If you are manifesting immensely abundant success, you are also potentially manifesting failure. You're also manifesting rejection. You're also manifesting late nights, long hours, and maybe little to no sleep, no appreciation. If that's what it takes to get you from where you are to where you want to be, we manifest lump sum, we manifest the whole thing. And again, it's like that's the double-edged nature. If we're manifesting truth, do we not expect to live in a world where we see the darkness? Where we see the things that we didn't want to see, that we didn't even want to know existed. If we're manifesting knowing, if we're manifesting revealing and truth and all kinds of stuff, like that's a part of it. Now, how this applies to Venus and Aries? I'm trying to think if there's going to be like a fire trine. In Sagittarius, we have Pallas Athena and Lilith, not Black Moon Lilith. In Leo, we have nothing. And you already know all the stuff we have in Aries. Because this is the element of fire. That's one like. Now, our face down card is the Shining Gale, Winds of the Sylph. This card may have come up for Mars in Pisces. I feel like it did. And it was the completed work of the Knight of Swords from the In-Between Tarot. See, this is interesting. It doesn't like this is right now, at least it's the card of a completed work. And then we have the Master of the Arcanes, which was again, it was related to using the right thing at the right time, at the right place, in the right scenario and situation, because it builds the correct correlation in the mind. It's like we would be able to link properly, correctly link one thing to another. Like, let's say it's bringing the Rainmaker to mind, the one who like loves to come out. It brings the Rainmaker to mind, and let's say that someone is like, whenever I'm trying to think of like an example. Whenever I leave the house, it rains. Like that's our association. Like whenever I leave the house, it rains. So if we want it to rain, I'm gonna have to leave the house. And like let's say that it's not safe to leave the house because like it's dark or it's storming or maybe you just don't feel like leaving the house. Oh my gosh, who was this? This was the fairy deck. I think it was the third Fool, the third April Fool. It was the Five of Winter, and it said something about like walk away from dishonest associations. And it wasn't that somebody was associating with dishonest people, it was that the association that someone had in their mind wasn't the truth. It's almost like that energy. And so, like, let's say that when you leave the house, you put on your coat, you put on your shoes, you grab your keys, you go out the door, you you go out the door and you do whatever. Like, let's say the correct association is like wherever you keep your keys, whenever you move your keys out of that place, it rains. Like that is the part in this whole process that triggers the phenomena or the phenomenon of it raining outside. Like in this case, like it's a part, like the actual truth lies in the middle of all of this stuff. It's the fact that you move your keys from this place to another place. That's what triggers the rain. So if you want it to rain and you can't leave the house or you don't want to leave the house, all you have to do is like pick up your keys. But and like that would be, and I don't know anything. I don't know how else besides leaving the house it could be illustrated like move your keys and it rains outside, because I can't think of too many reasons why you would need to grab your keys unless you're leaving. It's a metaphor, but that's the point at the same time too. That's why it's like, because there's so much that isn't known about the solution, especially before the problem arises, it could be very easy to make a incorrect correlation if it were used in any way besides the way that it is intended to be used. But again, it's like the intention lies, yes, part of the intention is solving the problem, but another part of the intention is increasing our awareness or our understanding to some degree at some point and to some level. Uranus is in Taurus right now. New World Order, things changing, it makes sense. Saturn is faster than Uranus. So before they conjunct, when Saturn moves into, because Saturn is the world card, When Saturn moves to sextile Uranus, I wonder if it'll be Pisces Taurus. And I wonder if they'll conjunct. Let's see, when does Uranus leave Taurus? Uranus crosses the Gemini cusp in 2025. In 65 weeks and 3 days, Uranus will cross over into Gemini. I love Time Nomad. I really do. Where is Taurus, first of all? Where is Saturn? Saturn is going to be in Aries. So it looks like it looks like it might actually be Pisces Taurus. Can I show the degrees? Maybe. Yes. So Saturn is going to be 1 degree Aries when Uranus crosses over into 0 degrees of Gemini. So I think technically the exact sextile will happen Pisces Taurus. I guess it doesn't matter, but I was just curious. Because there's a lot of focus on Jupiter here. And again, Jupiter is expansion. And with Jupiter in the Chariot, and because the Chariot has an element of truth, it requires expansion for us to see the truth. It requires expansion for us to know what it is that we truly, genuinely want. Or what we truly, genuinely want lies outside of our comfort zone. It lies beyond the realm of our understanding. And so it's almost like take the invitation. Because again, the thing that arrives first, but this is a lot. The initiate, the seeker, and the keeper. The first thing that Venus in Aries is going to bring is this invitation to some kind of initiation. And then at the bottom of the deck, we have the next 2 steps, one literally right after the other, with that archangel of healing. It feels like work done is going to be our best friend. But again, I don't know. And because awakening, the Ace of Wands is on its side. The Ace of Wands being on its side could also mean like a fine line that we walk between an ego that pursues its desires and an ego that is enslaved to its desires, or the fine line between this and that. It could also be self-motivated too, because I'm getting the Ace of Wands in terms of like action, masculine energy. Also, again, with the shining gale down here, there is some kind of connection to Mars. And we know that Venus is sextiling. Well, because she just entered Aries. So right now, Venus is sextiling the spot where she conjuncted Pluto in Aquarius. And soon she'll be sextiling the spot where she conjuncted Mars in Aquarius. And with this Cancer to Pisces, with the sextile into the trine, I feel like there's something there. It's like the sextile is an opportunity, the trine is something that happens. So we have to take advantage of the opportunity, and then from there, it's like something just happens. It's like the good gets even better. And I guess she did when she was in Pisces, she made the sextile to Jupiter before she's going to conjunct Jupiter. Now, I'm assuming their conjunction is going to be in Gemini. So, where they conjunct is going to square where they sextiled. But again, it feels like the sextile is like it's reading so like smooth because it's like that the bridging point. It's the thing that leads to a realization. Anyway, this is interesting. I'm going to look before and after the initiate. I would look at before and after. Do I look before and after the stronghold of the flame? Because that's technically the card that came out. Or do I look around the message, or do I look around both? I'm kind of sort of trying to avoid looking around both. I'll look around the message, and I'll see if the energy is like similar to how it's going to unfold. So I'm looking before and after the stronghold of the flame and the Vitruvian to see what our context generally is. I gotta get to the bottom of all of it. Like it's so. I guess everything is so subconscious, not self-conscious. I guess everything is so subconscious because I'm like, it's towards the bottom. But again, I don't know if it's still that thing of like things that we didn't have to do. Lucio non uro. Maybe that's us being told shine not burn. Maybe that was the current way. Maybe that's the current method of operation that at least a certain faction or a certain piece of the divine is going through, where it's not like forcing or screaming at us, it's like illuminating things. And then it's up to us to do whatever. Because again, we're not children anymore. Or we're making that transition where we're not children anymore. And so it isn't like, that's like you grow up, you move out, like you don't have anyone that's like, hey, clean your room, do this, do that. Now it's like, it's up to you. If you clean or if you don't clean, what you live in is a result of your actions. It's less that and more just like it's not forced. And so because it isn't forced, because it is just shown, I don't know, it feels like it at the very least would be an adjustment. This is hilarious. So I know I'm not looking for this, but I saw it. Before and after the initiate is the title card and the grotesque. The grotesque is the piece, the part, the fragment of the divine that you are in. It is the spark of the divine that is within you. That often we distance ourselves from or cast out because of experiences in life. Maybe it's something that alienates us. Maybe it's something that outcasts us. Maybe it's something that causes drama. Almost kind of like a Chiron. It could be like Chiron. but the poison is the medicine. It's very much so that, like, what if our fear isn't that we're good enough? I don't know if I said that right. What if our fear isn't that we're not, yeah, what if our fear isn't that we're not good enough? What if what we actually fear is that we are more brilliant than we can even imagine? Like, our brilliance is hidden behind a fear that isn't even actually our real fear. Just like what it is that we truly desire is something that we may not have even experienced yet. Glass of God, oh my gosh. So, when you have the drink, you will know. That's the whole thing about the glass of God. Nobody knows what it is, but when you have it, you'll know. I remember the scene from like that. Like, you may not even know what it is that you truly desire yet. I remember a scene from Lucifer where God made Maz's favorite drink. God was like, "Here, I made your favorite drink." And Maz was like, "This isn't my favorite drink." She was like, "I don't even know what that is." And then he was like, "Why don't you taste it?" And then she was like, "Wow, yeah, that's pretty good." He made her favorite drink before she even knew what her favorite drink was because she hadn't had it yet. And that's what's like, oh, it's glass of God. When you have it, you'll know. And the Nine of Cups was all over this. But if she would have never approached God, she may not have ever had that drink. And she approached him. And again, it's that Five of Cups energy because she felt different. And there was something about her because of who she was. She felt that she couldn't be who she wanted to be. I just feel like I'm not gonna cry, but I feel like I can feel like emotion welling somewhere. Oh gosh, I might cry. It's fine. Because of where she was and because of how she thought she was created, she didn't think that she could become who she wanted to be because of who she was made to be. And she was mad at God for, like, not necessarily mad, but she went to go ask him if he could remake her so that she could become who she wanted to be. And he was like, no. And then she got upset, but it's because he didn't have to remake her. Like, she was already in so many ways the person that she didn't think she could be. But she couldn't see it because she was so focused, or because she was who she was. And it was like that whole thing. That's this Five of Cups energy where it's like she already was, but she didn't know. And when she got the no from God, like when God was like, "No, I'm not gonna do anything to you. I'm not gonna change you." She was like, "Oh, why? It's because you can't." She got upset, but then eventually she realized that, like, she didn't have to be changed. And it's interesting that that's around the initiative. The title card is here. And I'm not surprised that the title card is here. Oof, I made it. It almost got me. It almost got me. It almost pulled the tear. Is this literally at the top of the deck? Oh my gosh, it's literally at the top of the deck. The Shining Flame. Stronghold of the Flame, Herald of the Awakening is with lightning and the pyre. That's the Knight of Wands. Which kind of sort of honestly, it's not too different from the Initiate, because the Initiate is all about, like, starting something new, going down a new path, which the Knight of Wands is perfectly capable of doing. Honestly, it feels like it's more of this Ace of Wands on the side energy. If it's something that someone truly desires, then yes. But if it isn't, then it won't be. But the key is our relationship with desire. And I guess in a certain type of way, I'm not surprised to see this with Venus and Aries because Venus is a planet of desire. Aries is a sign that's very much so associated with action. But this goes beyond desire. It has the potential to reach the depth of desire. And maybe that's because of this potentially new Aries energy that's almost more Scorpio on land than what we would traditionally associate Aries to be because of everything that's happened within the planet that rules Aries, because of everything that's happened within Mars, because Mars has changed. And so if Mars has changed, then will the domains of Mars not change? Will the way that Mars like shows up not change? It's almost like the person who like never cleaned, maybe it was a mental thing for them. And now that the mental is cleaner, the home is cleaner. And because the home is cleaner, it's a lot less treacherous and dangerous. You don't got bacteria that are going to eat at your health or stuff in the way where it shouldn't be that's going to be like a physical hazard because of like tripping, slips, trips, and falls. This is so interesting. Lightning and the pyre. Lightning, thunder is Jupiter. Fire is Mars. That one is fire. I wonder if too this is, did I read something? Was that the I Ching? Trust in your own excellence. Loyalty rewarded with generosity. The leader acts with logic and detaches from emotion, but inspire your followers to act with emotion and detach from logic. Adapt to the circumstances. Change and perseverance bring you prosperity. Change and perseverance is such an interesting combination to bring prosperity. It's very much like roll with the punches type of energy. I had it and then I wait. I had it and then I lost it. Lucio non uro. Is a pyre actually fire? Or is the pyre just like the place where the kindling is? A heap of combustible material. Yeah. So there's a heap of combustible material, and then there's lightning. I always thought this was like lightning and fire, like lightning and the fire, lightning and the pyre. Because I guess in my mind, it's always been a pyre that's already like burning. The pyre is also, I can't remember where I showed you this card. It's the Three of Wands. Here it is. That's the lit pyre. This is the kind of pyre that I was thinking about. One that's already lit. That's why in my brain the association was lightning and fire. But the pyre is the combustible heap. If lightning were to strike this, it would like turn into ash. But the purpose is to light the fire. The pyre is lit by the lightning. This is almost giving me sleeper cell energy. It's almost giving me sleeper cell energy because we are the combustible material. Lightning is that go signal. Like that sleeper cell energy is having the golden orb in target, and all of a sudden, maybe not even necessarily knowing what it's going to do, but knowing that it's the time to use it. And maybe that's why it so quickly goes like Seeker Keeper, the Merkaba. I was going to show you, but then I forgot. The same one that's shining up in the sky of the Hierophant. Master of the Arcanes. There you go. Oop. I put the Keeper on the table and put the Hierophant back. Cool. What am I going to title this? I don't know. Oh, here it is. I was like, didn't I see this bird somewhere? Remember the dove that was the beginning of the purifying? It's this golden dove down here. I guess after it's finished its work. It's bringing the olive branch. The olive branch is giving a piece of the laurel wreath. But it marks a certain completion. For things to begin truly healing and truly purifying marks, it's like a milestone marker. Also, I didn't catch, I don't know where she is now, but you see these lotuses and the water of the Holy Grail? When we saw that Nine of Cups, here she is. Oh, yeah, under the bereaved, our deepest wish. That's what they're sitting in. They're sitting in the lotus. It feels like the lotus that they're sitting in is in the vicinity of the Six of Cups. Or it's a lotus that is, it's a lotus that's, they feel connected, okay? Goodness. That's what I'm trying to say. They feel connected. And in this one, they are still there. Each cup is connected to a different element, but they're not connected to a specific planet. I don't know. There you go. Venus and Aries. Excuse me. Oof. Oh, I feel like it's been a minute since I almost got like that. It wasn't going to hit me, and then it started hitting me, and then it wasn't going to hit me, and then it really almost got me. There she goes. With the Eight of Cups. See, that fountain is giving me Ace of Cups vibes. Is it giving me Ace of Cups vibes? Sure. With the Eight of Wands, though, it's like once it's revealed, it's going to move like so quick. But that's the lightning of it. And lightning in the pyre. The phrase, we accept the love that we think we deserve, comes to mind when I look at this Knight of Wands. We accept the love we think we deserve. We accept the manifestation we think we deserve. We accept the level of abundance that we think we deserve. We accept the gifts that we think we deserve. And maybe again, that's why like There's the illumination and the healing that's required. Our hearts have to be made lighter than the feather. And I guess that was the thing about Anubis one day. Like, we judge ourselves. But that was also the thing about hell and Lucifer. It was like people basically judging themselves. People would look back on their own life, and whatever they were the most upset about or carried the most guilt about, like, that would be their hell. They would relive that moment over and over and over. But by the end of it, it's like you relive that moment over and over and over and over to resolve it. And so there were people, spoiler alert, I guess, by the end of Lucifer, he realizes that God didn't put him in hell to chill with the rest of the folks down there. God put them in hell to help the people who went down there get over their regret and then make it to heaven. Once they resolve it in hell, they become light enough to go to heaven. And he helps the first guy go to heaven kind of by accident. And it was it was one of those mysterious, like, when God shows up, he does a lot of like mysterious ways type of things, but it's because of what like the angels had to realize for themselves, and it's because of what Maz had to realize for herself. You know. Excuse me. All right. Oh, I guess I still got cards on the table. Thank you. Oh, the Eight of Wands, the Bread of Life, the High Priestess again, the Golden Shield, the Defector, and the Sharpshooter again. Eight of Wands. Cutting to the Giver. The Giver and the Emperor. The Giver is the Six of Pentacles, by the way. The Ten of Cups, and this is Aries, and then Mars and Pisces. I feel like Mars can do a lot of good in Pisces before it. Not only can Mars do some good in Pisces before it goes into Aries, but Pisces can do some good for Mars before Mars goes into Aries, if you know what I mean. Okay. SKT Vitruvian. Final card, please. Ooh. Bottom of the deck is the Corruptor. There is no axe to remove corruption in this Corruptor. Venus and Scorpio. The card that came out is the title card. So, there you go. And I feel like that's literally like what came out. Oh, it was the Corruptor and the Purifier. The Corruptor and the Ace of Cups, the Purifying. If it isn't purified, we won't be able to see. Like, it's almost an energy that's like, deal with the corruption in the Corruptor first, and then ask. It's I Ching number what? Is that 1 or 2? Which is like, don't seek divination. It's like the fool seeks out divination. It's number 4, inexperience. You are focused on the wrong inquiry. Divination does not seek out the inexperienced fool. The inexperienced fool seeks out divination. The divination here shall give no further information unless the inexperienced fool can return with a proper sincerity. You must find the right teacher to learn the right attitude. Be aware of your inexperience. Ignorance is pervasive, yet to err is not evil. It is naivete and a result of inexperience. Do not seek out divination again until you have mastered the teaching. It's like deal with this first and then, because again, the thing about the title card is like we wouldn't be able to see it for what it is because of our own whatever. And if we were to approach it before, it goes back to the thing about correlations and dishonest associations. If we were to look at, approach, be asked, whatever it is now, we would make an incorrect association. We would carry a dishonest, what was the other word I said? It was a dishonest association. We would make an incorrect correlation. This is the acknowledgement of that. That's why it's like deal with the corrupter first. And the thing about the corrupter and the thing about the Seven of Cups and the SKT, there are no right choices. Every cup is linked to a different one of the seven deadly sins. Now, let's say that we have a vice that makes us susceptible to lust, but we aren't very wrathful. So maybe we could choose the cup of wrath because the poison of wrath won't affect us, potentially. But because we saw the purifying that came out with the corruptor, because of the energy of the Five of Cups, the grotesque, because the medicine for the poison lies beneath the poison, we do actually have to, it's hidden behind our vice, basically. The cards would suggest, but based on the way that they came out tonight, the cards would suggest that it's hidden behind our poison. We got to heal the thing if we want to move beyond it. And until we do, there's something that will remain continuously indescribable, unknowable, whatever. But it makes sense. Like, it's like if we're afraid of spiders and we want to go somewhere, but there's a giant, a giant spider. A spider of any size is giant when we're afraid of spiders. Now, a giant spider when we're afraid of spiders. Woo! Don't even want to have to imagine. But the tiniest of spiders can be gigantic if we're afraid. But if what we want lies in a room beyond a room with the spider in it, we won't be able to get there. And that's something too. It's like what it is that we truly want, we may not have yet even experienced. Or we may be on our way to meeting. Because again, something about Venus and Pisces feels like it confirmed. It's like travel details confirmed. And the meeting will happen wherever the meeting will happen. Details confirmed. Bottom of the deck is the Emperor of the Revelations edition. Guess what card came out? The Erudite. What is Virgo up to? What is Virgo doing? And it's so interesting that it's Virgo though, because this Pisces season, last Pisces season, was the first time where I got Sun in Virgo. It was that binary energy. Sun in Virgo opposed Sun in Pisces. There was no moon there. Or the moon had become such a perfect mirror for the sun that it appears as the sun. Now, there is part of the moon that we never see, the dark side of the moon. But even when the dark side is capable of refracting light, that's why I'm like, what's Virgo doing? I'm curious. Where's our resident Virgo? I'm kidding. The giver, moon in Taurus. At the cut. Six of orbs. Cool. I almost want to, for funsies, I'm going to leave it as it is. Because it's the Hermit of the Mysteries. I'll leave it as it is. I guess what's interesting is, though, oh no. I was going to say we don't have the urn. Excuse me, that says Lucio non uro. There's Luke's ex tenebris. Excuse me, it's like when we saw the Hermit before, while Venus was still in Pisces, that was the light and the dark before it became so bright that it like illuminated a room. Right? That's like if I turn off the lights and I have a candle, you'll be able to see some stuff, but you're not going to see as much as you can see now with the light on. Like this is the Hermit. This is the Erudite in the Revelations edition. The Erudite in the Vitruvian edition would be if I turned the lights off and lit a candle. Like it's coming more and more and more and more into the daytime. Again, there was something about before where it's just a realization, but it isn't necessarily action yet, or it wasn't then. And I was going to say it's interesting that Lucio non uro is here, but it is here. It's on the staff. Okay, that's upside down. It's on the staff. Now the staff says Lucio non uro. So what we've lost is the Lux hominum vita, light, the life of humanity, or something like that. And maybe that's because the emperor is here. Maybe we become responsible for like lighting our own. Like this is us taking responsibility for the light in our own life. Because the emperor. And then there's the Ark of the Covenant. The covenant is the promise. What was promised? Ooh. Or what is promised? Commander of intellections is the emperor. Hermit of the mysteries, commander of intellections. Oh, look, these are both the same tone. They're tone 12. Tone 12, tone 12. The hermit is mountain. The emperor is fire. I wish I had. I want to see if I can see what tone 12 is. I know I have it on my iPhone, but I don't know if I have it on Dream Spell tones. I just do Dream Spell tone 12. Tone 12 is crystal. Contemplate these code words to invoke your key powers. Dedicate, universalize cooperation. Tone 12 represents the principle of complex stability, the crystallization of harmonized structure. The gift of your cosmic identity is to access the power of synergy. Activate your crystal powers by being an instrument of higher order, by having comprehensive vision, by cooperating with your own higher self, by generating networks of positive energies, by enlivening the wisdom of the circle, intentionally bringing community together. by honoring and celebrating what each person brings to the collective energy, by collaborating and joining forces to energize causes you believe in, by staying dedicated to your deepest callings, by following the crystalline clarity of your heart, by expressing your earthly wisdom in a form that can be widely received, by extending the magic of your soul to the universal whole. That's what 13moon.com has to say about Tone 12. So, with all that being said, I hope you all have an amazing, excuse me. The yawns are back. That means I'm finished. I hope you all have an amazing whenever you see this. I hope you're acting in alignment to make all that you wish to experience your reality. I hope that whatever you need along your path, journey, and what you find, I hope that as you navigate the changing currents of life and as you find and refine your footing, I hope you, I guess, a grace with yourself. And I hope you a clarity. A clarity, I want to say a clarity beyond confusion, but I feel like that's what clarity means. You know what I mean? I don't know. But anyway, I'll see y'all next time. Goodbye.